That's their pain, and that's fair. It can't be our standard. I'm entitled to grace too, but I understand where you're coming from, bro. I really do, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So when it comes to like high-profile people that fall, I think that's why people love it so much, because you've been hating on Kim Kardashian for 3 decades, and when that one business deal goes bad, it's like, yes, you know, finally.
Play the judge and the jury.
Oh yeah, and we like to do it selectively. That's the way it is. So I was not surprised by that, though, to be honest with you. Because I could see it. I could see while I was on the other side of it. I would, as much as I don't want to admit this, there are times where I was a part of a machine that discarded people. And I consider myself to be a loyal friend, and I am. I consider myself to be somebody that's a strength for me. And I can look back on times where I knew dudes that we would roll with, something would go wrong, I'd be like, what happened to that guy? We should probably reach out to him, right? No? Yeah? Okay. Like I did that. I was a part of that. So there's a lot of room on my side of the street to clean up, but I think to your question, there's a long answer. I just feel like we have a selective jury system in our head that is deeply tied to our experience with the person in question. We don't know him. It's like, God bless you.
I want to tap on that though, because you said some people knew you. Like there's members of your church that felt it differently.
Yes.
So how do you like what is that?
100 to 1. 100 in my experience would be, I love you, I forgive you, mean a lot to us, pray for your family, miss you, what happens hard, love you. And there are also people who just cannot even think about me and my family because there was a deep connection, and their hurt has manifested itself in such a way for them that they cannot reconnect or even want to. I've had that experience. So that's, to me, I've never had a bad experience on the street. I've never met one. That's we know that. If you have any life in the public eye at all, you realize that humanity's incredible. Your feed sucks, but people are awesome. And so I think there's a lot of people who had a close connection. Most of the time, our family on this chapter, people have a lot of grace and a lot of love.
So to the people.
How's your path, by the way? You on it?
I'm all over the place, but it's all good. But to those people, because I'm trying to encapsulate their vantage point, right? Like they feel like their voice is justified, right? Like they're seeing you and they're saying, I was there. Ad Hillsong, I was there, and he's a fraud. I hate him. He's ruined my life. I've heard it said about many pastors who have, in some kind of ways fallen, and other people feel like their faith is shattered. Like, what is that? From your, or not even what is that? Well, you can articulate that, but then even how do you respond?
I'll respond to that. I mean, if I were to respond to that exact sentence, you're a fraud. You ruined my life. And I hate you. That's the Holy Spirit.
You're good.
Yes, Lord. I answered that the right way. I would say I would use a lot of the tools I have now, which is it sounds very hard, it sounds heavy, it sounds extremely burdensome to carry. And the pain that you feel that I contributed to, I'm deeply sorry. And I've said that, and I've said it, as much as I can. And then from there, there's nothing I can do. That's no longer about me. So you can sit there and say, I hate you, you're a fraud, but that's no longer about me because I know who I am. I'm not who you're saying. So to the reaction out of me, you believe perhaps there's some truth to what you're saying. But if someone would say, Carl, you're a fraud, I'd say, how's the weather where you live? Like, it's not true.
And you'll spend your life,
oh my gosh, right.
like deflecting and proving that wrong, and it's not worth it.
Someone said, they told me something that was said about me, and they said, what do you think about that? I said, I don't. I literally don't.
You can't.
I've got a lot going on that I love. That has priority. If I can get through some of this great stuff and I have extra time to think about your opinion, I'll let you know.
You
Can't do it. So I mean that with respect. And I've met people who've been devastated by. First of all, I've been in a position where someone that I love and respect spiritually has hurt me. I've been there. I can't relate to the pain. And it was a horrible place to be. And for people people that have walked out in my situation, and I think about those people and I pray for them. And I also trust the God that I've preached about my whole life, brother. Like, when anybody's like, you know, devastated to the point their faith is gone, I say, we weren't around us too long. You just weren't. Because there would not be a week that went by where I would not be fairly clear about the source of this, and the source of your strength, and the source of your power, and who you should be looking to and for every day. And so most people, if I did my job well at all before, I did the best I could to introduce people to who I believe Jesus to be.
Yeah.
I did that really good.
Yeah.
So most people, they can be sad and upset, but that link is stronger than the human frailty that I exemplify. You know Jesus. Like, it sucks that you let me down, marriage pastor. Really hard. And I walk with the living God. That's a different world.
I appreciate your candidness. It's not that I want to camp here. It's just so much to unpack, and I'm so curious. And I also want people to like.
This is a great question, man.
Yeah, I remember watching this interview with Ralph David Abernathy, and he rode with Dr. Martin Luther King, and they asked him if he knew about Dr. King's kind of extramarital affairs, and he said, "Of course we did." And they were like, "Well, what did you do?" He said, "Well, we tried to tell him, we counseled him, we got him some help, and then he stopped, and then, you know, it was like we were engaged in." And there are congregations across the world who have some sense of like, okay, hey, we got to get you to step down, we got to do some repair work on you, and then you're going back to work. Or there's congregations, like, do you feel in some sense like a scapegoat for fall? Because so many pastors have fallen, but yours was like, oh, like, it get, like, like, do you feel like you get, like, in some sense, you're the poster child or the scapegoat for all of this?
No, I don't feel like that. I feel like, I will say that if you have a scandal or disaster, and you want to come back into a ministry role, anywhere close to the time frame, I would ask you to reconsider. Because you did not get to that complicated position. Even if you think some of it's unjustified, there's 97 other leadership decisions you have made that put you in a position to be questioned in the first place. Even that is worse than timeout. So when I see some of these guys who are popping right back up for air, no judgment from me. But I've walked both sides of it. Like, do you know how much work it takes to unwind bad patterns? And that guy's like, well, I'm not as bad as you. First, you don't know how bad I was or wasn't. I'm saying I had some brokenness in my soul that ministry helped me cover. Right? Cover. That's not on ministry. That's just, this is the kind of life we have, where you can find a way to move in such a method where some of that stuff you can't necessarily hide or get away with in another field of life. But for a ministry, you have, it's just a very tricky ground to walk on. So I do think when it comes to me, am I the poster child? No, I'm just, you know, for our generation, our era, I had a high profile. So in one way, I'm like, how did that go in there? Me and you, I'm not trying to go 2 points, 2 assists, 2 boards, and 2 haters. I'm gonna try to get 50, brother. I might go over, but that's how I live my life. Like when we went to New York, it was like, we're gonna take a shot, bro. So I had no illusions that should something ever go wrong, I'm not gonna be the guy people that pat on the back. Nor do I want to, because that would have meant I never made a difference in the first place. So I do look at some of the response to what happened to us, and I go, it's always part of the course.
Hold on real quick, wait a minute. I need you to know this. We're in season 2 of the Deep End, and season 2 is about stories. Specifically stories from people that you want to hear from. Stories that you want to hear. Tell us what stories you want to hear. Tell us the people whose stories you want to hear. Because I'm a firm believer that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, our stories. So we want to tell those stories here on the Deep End. Let me know who you want to hear from and what you want to hear about. All right? Blessings. Yeah. So that's interesting. I have a mixed perspective. Like when I see artists who are in this position, I'm more so like, do we make this announcement? Is that necessary? Like, we are a business in some senses. So is this like, can we like I have been in a situation with somebody, and my recommendation was, let's take care of it behind the scenes, shut it down, so we can get you some help, some healing. It's not the world's business to know what's going on. It's you and your family, and let's work on this. I guess it's different in the pastoral world, obviously. But I guess you said like you got to stop to do that work, and I think a lot of people wouldn't say that. But I'm curious for you. Did you know you
Yine reis danke wo.
just didn't
Yine
stop?
reis danke.
So yes.
Okay.
I knew I was unhealthy at a greater level, probably a year, maybe even a year and a half. I started, something's off. And a lot of it was my age as well. A lot of it was I had been working for Brian Houston basically my whole adult life. I had been serving somebody else's vision. That was creating turmoil. I'm bad, not good, just unrest in me. I was trying to figure that out. And then I had habits that grow.
Ga je wacht?
And
We gaan lanken zo. Ga je leren. Hij is hier is week maar. Hij is goed daar zo. Maak eens dat je nou blijft.
I would lie to myself probably to see the day I chose not to have. I would lie to myself so many times I can't even count it. And that's often what I point to and say, there are times where I gotta get help. And then I will. Here's how I'm gonna get help. So you find out at rehab, you look at other addicts that are in recovery, we all do that. There's so many moments where you look around and laugh where it's like, every single one of us had a detailed exit plan that was going to be awesome. I had a great one. I'm going to do this, I'm going to complete this, I'm going to put this person in play, then I'm going to drift off, get myself right to avoid, you tell yourself it's to avoid further pain. Here's the lie. That's a lie because you're causing pain. So I used to tell myself, I'm not going to go get help and come clean because it's going to cause too many people pain.
That's right.
That's a lie. While I'm thinking that I'm causing pain with my actions. And you don't see that until you're on the other side of it and you go, so here I am, creating myself as a hero, my own therapeutic story. And I had a therapist say to me, thank you so much for sharing. Be open to the fact that it's a lie. Man, I don't like you at all. But that's when I started looking at from different places. I thought, my gosh, because that was my own internal narrative. Was I'm trapped. I was never trapped. I don't have anyone to go to. I have people to go to. If I say it, it's gonna hurt too many people. I've already hurt these people. So
they just don't know it.
They don't know it yet. So in fact, I'm not mitigating. I'm compounding the pain. Every day I let a lie go. And I can say that to anybody listening. You don't get away with your lies. In fact, I would even submit it's worse to get away with a lie than it is to get caught. Because we're not wired that way. So maybe your wife doesn't know. Maybe your church doesn't know. But you gotta live with that in your soul. That's half the reason my soul self-destructed. I'm kind of glad it did. Because if it didn't, that would mean I'm insane. If you can live like I was living at the end of that era there, at that time in my life, without deep soul consternation, and something's off. And people who really know us, they would say the same, that I was a mess, and I couldn't articulate it. Some of my closest friends would come close to asking, but they had their own stuff. So it's one thing to share your heart with somebody that's on a different planet. It's another thing to be like, I am hurting, but so are you, bro. Let's exchange stories, shall we? And so that's a toxic mix of components that lead somebody like me to hide, lie, double down, and make it seem like you're doing the best thing for everybody.
Bro, I relate to this.
Too honest?
Nah, I was gonna say I relate to it. So, at the height of my career, when I'm jaded and just feeling like I don't know what's up, what's down, where's God, where's He not, I'm self-medicating, I'm popping opiates, I'm getting drunk, smoking weed, and just I'm on a bad streak. And for me, I felt like, I love what you said. Like, I felt like I can't tell them. I've just got to land this plane some kind of way and back out silently. But the part of the problem for me, and I'm curious your thought on this, the part of the problem for me was I'm the chosen one, so I can't tell you because I'll let you down. Obviously, some people I'll cause you pain and disappointment. I can't bear the weight of that disappointment. And then the last one is nobody wants to hear a successful person cry about their problems.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just felt like, what the hell?
Man, I respect your journey so much, brother. It's a whole different kettle of fish. When you're a superstar in the music industry, it's different. So I just have a lot of respect for your journey and the way you handled it. But to your point, yes, if your baseline is how can I, like typically in most circles, as we know, people lie or they are even a level dishonest because they want to look right, feel right, or stay in control. And so that's always the truth. So sometimes I'll sit there with people, it takes about 10 minutes to be really honest and say, okay, you want to be in control. You're right. So that ultimately is what it comes down to. So an addict is inherently selfish. And you tell yourself all this stuff. So for me, here I am, and I would definitely believe to a degree as honoring of others as I could, selfless as I could, gave the best I had, and man, but at the end of the day, to do what I did is selfish, and to be able to reckon with that is freedom. And a lot of people run from stuff like that, and you have to get there if you ever want to have a better life. You gotta go head to head with some of these things that have been holding you back, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
But you don't know that when you're in it, man, and it's just, I don't use the word regret because I do believe it's a wasted emotion.
For sure.
But I look back and I go, God,
Yeah.
you know, man.
We all do.
Me and Laura were laughing. It's like, okay, let's just say I was functioning at 60% health. We did good. Like, we gave it a hell of a run, right? And let's just say I'm at 70%. You know, forget about being healthy. But that goes back. I don't even know if you want to have this comment, but when dudes are young in ministry, I think there's a better way to get them onto the playing field than the current way we do it.
Now you gotta break that down.
Well, you tell me how many times it's gone well for somebody to skip college and go straight to the league. You want to go down the list? It's not a basketball thing. You know what it is? It's a life thing. So the players that I've worked with, players that you've worked with, they will attest through and through. It wasn't so much that they missed playing college ball. They missed being a college guy.
Yeah.
You know what you learn in college? Voice intonation, not to wear sunglasses on inside all the freaking time. You know what else you learn in college? I'm out of money. Mom, no, I already gave you your $100 for this month. You learn how to and you learn friendship, heartbreak. You get to date. You get to go to a finance class. Basketball, you didn't need to go to college. But as a human, maybe you did. As a minister, man, I don't even want to open up this kettle of fish. I'm going to say that for my podcast.
That's skipping class. So I love that.
They weren't even given the option.
Option to go to class. That's
so
good.
We're going to put you in the middle of the fire, in the middle of the fight.
Yeah.
You think about youth ministry, brother.
Yeah.
Who's normally running our youth ministries? Our best potential guys.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. The most pliable part of the human soul is our teenage years, and we're going to give these incredible high potential novices all that time, and we still do it. I still am a proponent of it. I'm not saying we should have youth pastors. I am saying the system isn't necessarily working.
Yeah.
And that's why you get a lot of guys who are our age, and I'm 46, you're 45, you got guys who are floating in this, where it seems like people have stunted growth. Of course they've stunted. It's like that pastor you see, he doesn't know nothing he has is cool, nothing. He doesn't know that all of his stuff is working for him. He still thinks he's crushing. You know why? He never got a chance to have a friend go, you suck, dude. You're horrible. What are you doing? You're not funny. Stop saying that joke. You know why? Because he was leading the church. When typically you have a friend tell you, dude, I don't like the way you treat me. Well, he's been a boss. So that's how he's up there doing his thing, pointing at the camera. Here's my message for Kim Kardashian and all the other famous celebs out there. Like, You know how you can get away with that, bro? It's because no one's ever checked you before. Because you've been in a pastoral role your whole life. So it's a robbery to a degree. So I premise that by saying this is a layered kettle of fish.
Oh, I love it.
I do think there is something to be said. Hey, I love telling guys who want to play the church, I support y'all with you.
Yeah.
Why now?
Yeah.
Don't answer defensively.
Right.
Okay. Almost every time. Every answer will be there later.
That's good.
Just saying.
That's good, man.
So, and if I can pick out
That's a book.
one of the reasons why you want to do a church is for these 4 things. This church ain't going to fix those 4 things either.
Yeah.
It's my time.
Yep.
Ooh, okay. What is that? What's your time? What's our paradigm?
First of all, you're not just talking about pastors, you're talking about artists too. I had the same conversation with young artists. This is hilarious.
It's you're not getting worse if you're getting wiser. So if you think you're waiting in the wings, all these metaphors that we use, just quick to remind people, man. Like, and I we've been Hillsong, New York City when I was early 30s, and I'm not saying you got to be at some age. All I'm saying is what led me there. My trajectory from being a college guy at North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina, hooping, loving life, getting saved, to there, that road, was an interesting one. And now, if I'm at the end of that road with that guy, I mean, I'm having questions we didn't know to ask them. Like my 21, 22-year-old self, let's talk about trauma. I'm 4% body fat. Trauma, I'm good. Any sexual experiences you want to talk about? Under the rug. I had a crazy life. God saved me. I'm freaking pure as the day is long. Awesome. You want to talk about any of it? Straight. What about family dynamics and trauma? My family's awesome. You want to dig a little bit? Big. Like, we don't know this paradigm. Right? Now I'm sitting down with 22-year-olds who want to get my advice. I always say, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys who can get the advice you think you want right now. I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to talk to you about stuff that maybe you'll appreciate down the road.
Man.
I just like to, all that to say, if you're a young pastor out there, I love you and I pray for those guys. And maybe what I'm submitting is the way that the on-ramp is for dudes that really want to do this. Maybe there's a way to set them up in a way that has more strength than we've known.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's good. I respect that. I think that's a book. I think you got something there. I'm curious. I mean, I've had conversations with you, so I kind of know more. But before I was curious, and I did ask you this on our first initial conversation, but I also am curious about, like, one of the questions I had was like, hey, you were playing for the New York Knicks, you was in the spotlight, it wasn't a healthy world, you had to shut it down, and then you pop back up and you want to Oklahoma Thunder, and they kill it. Like, why transformation? Another super popular, super popping church.
Yeah.
For the outside looking in, it's like, is he just?
Yeah. Very fair, very fair. I knew that was going to happen, and it was such a beautiful place to be where we just didn't give 2 flying squirrel F's about what was going to be said, because here's what really happened. And you know what you said earlier, which I can answer a little bit, what's behind the scenes of big churches. It's not as wild or crazy as you think. A bunch of people trying to get it done right. It's the vast majority of churches are people trying to do it right. And it just gets difficult. But with why do we end up in OKC? Well, we needed to make a shift from Florida. I went and got a job with a company that I ended up really falling in love with, and did ad sales and marketing and stuff I've never done. I worked at a cubicle. It was awesome. And I just enjoyed not being somebody that it was a very unique, crazy, lonely, but fulfilling season. We realized we need to make a change. I had a meeting with Mike Todd, because he was in Florida doing something, and we just really connected again on a deep level. And if anybody knows anything about Mike Todd, if you say the word shoe, he's going to give you 7 pairs right there. You didn't even one. That's how generous he is. That's how kind he is. So he was like, this might make sense. We started talking, and I was like, bro, if you and I know what we're doing, but he's like, Mike has he's like, I'm aware of people from set. I love you and your family. Let him talk about it. And I just remember hearing him say that, and I heard that before this, and those guys weren't that wasn't the case.
Okay.
So before, that's my brother, that's my family, that's my guy. Turns out that's not the case. I wasn't your brother, I wasn't your family, I'm not your family. Not right, not wrong, but that's just not true. We weren't family, we were never family.
Yeah.
But with Mike, he said that before, during, after. A couple guys were like that. There's a couple guys who were, what I thought we were brothers, more apt we were business partners.
Yeah.
You learn it the hard way, especially when you're the one producing. A lot of my ministry relationships, it was me to them. And that's great business for them.
Hold on, come on. Let me just say how healthy you are. Cause I know that I've been here, and I was like, yo, you know, oh, now I'm not your man's. Oh, now I'm not your man's. Cause the public ain't rocking with me. You not answering my call. You ain't bringing me. Oh, it's like that. And to get to a place where you're like, okay, I see what it is. Like that is maturity. That is healing.
It takes a while because it's so much more fun to be mad, to be bitter. It just simply isn't resourceful for my life.
That's good.
So it's like I can, in some of the stuff I have validity for.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the guys who I thought were bros or were business partners, it doesn't make it less painful. I just know what it is. I accept it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a judgment on them.
Yeah.
And they can't tell me anything different on this side because I got evidence.
Yeah.
So and I have grace for your journey
Right.
to deal with my decision
Yeah.
all day. I'm still allowed to articulate how I feel about it.
Yeah.
That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And to a degree, I get it. At the same time, I'm very careful with my words now, man, because I could say almost delusional. I never thought that some guys would, because it wasn't proportional to me.
Yeah.
And I think one of the deepest pains was like, I think one of my best friends at the time, we talked one time. And it's been one time since. So this is like, if you rock with somebody for 10, 15 years, in my paradigm, which I learned not to judge against somebody else's, I'm checking on them
Yeah.
after a while.
Yeah.
Like, we're friends, make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a best friend and you really hurt your life, you self-destructed, and it was one call, you gotta really start second guessing a lot. You gotta look on your side of the tracks first, and then go, okay, moving forward, what did I learn from that relationship that I can make, be so much a blessing? So, but what was right before that? Because you asked.
I was talking about like why you go from the Knicks to the Thunder.
So what's funny is I remember, I didn't look at social media or the press stuff for a long time, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Really changed my nervous system. Because for the first couple of months, I was reading what everybody else was reading, and I kept doing that. It was so bad. And I was off social media and just coming back in. I heard some of the narratives around me and Mike, and it was so funny because they always had to do with preaching. It was like it's part of what I was playing was I'm going, you know what? You know why? There's no paradigm for someone doing it like this, I guess. So you're well within your rights to think that I'm just waiting in the wings to get back to preach because you really thought that mattered to me. Sorry, you're projecting what matters to you. Like because I did have a conversation with somebody who was like, this is what you're doing, this is what I said. More aptly put, if you were me, that's what you would be doing.
Yes.
You don't know me.
Yes.
You don't know that that's not a value to me. So
Yes.
you really thought that stuff mattered. So none of those guys make apology videos, by the way, I learned. So I saw this one time, it was like, Mike Todd, Carl Hood, this is gonna go bad. It's like one of those corny things, and I was like, well, that wasn't true.
Yeah.
And your whole thing's about being a truth guy. So isn't it apropos for you to say you were really wrong? It turns out, although you have evidence to support your initial judgment, most pastors are aligning and angling to get back into some sort of ministry. Okay, well, it's okay to say that somebody's not. And Mike Todd and I have had 0 conversations about me preaching.
Yeah.
You pray, 0. That's my friend. He's legit my friend. And right now in this season, I'm submitted to his church leadership, my pastor. Like I love him, I respect him. So that was interesting for me to watch. I wonder how many people might come back around and say I was wrong. Not a lot.
Yeah, no.
They'll send you a DM.
Yeah.
They're not gonna make a video.
Nah.
They'll send you, you know what, man, 8 years ago, I blasted you, and I just want to apologize. Okay, cool.
Hey, it means a lot.
Thanks, bro.
So I think maybe a quick way to describe something like that is like, some pastors actually have real lives outside. We have friends. And so Mike Todd leading this global phenomenon that is TC with this giant profile, me, having to check the past, and people have all kinds of opinions. That's here, but over here, I'm a man with a family. My guy, he's a man with a family. I'm gonna move in proximity to you and have some dinner, hang out, and work. Work will get better. And so it's like it's two separate things. So it never really hit us over here. And that's, you have to ask Mike how he felt about it, but because it could always feel a lot to be done. Anybody who says they don't. I had a funny flashback of, my guy DJ Clue, me included, a couple guys were going into a club in New York, and it was oversold. And it was Jeezy actually. And people were riding, throwing rocks. And we had his security guard was passed away, it was Big Chris, 6'9", like 370. And I just remember getting inside, nothing hit us, and Chris was like, everything hit me. Bottles and rocks. But like the same, you're gonna feel criticism. But I think a healthy life enables you to feel it in an appropriate way. I think Mike has done that really well. He's put our family before the opinions of people. I'll never forget that ever in my life. Because there were a couple people who stood up and said, I still got your back. He was one of them.
It's like that when folks turn their back on you. The people who stand up for you in the midst of it, you're always welcome. You always welcome.
No context needed.
No. Everybody was looking crazy at me. And I've had some moments where, you may have people just silently turning back. I've had some moments where, people have literally called my phone and left a voice memo that cursed me. And I was like, I thought we were. And it was like, okay, heard. And then fast forward, act like that voice memo was never left. And act like, hey man, what you got going on these days? And I'm like,
we gotta address it. I think that's what it is. So I'll tell you this, there's been a couple hard moments on this journey. One of them was sitting in church that I love. I love the moment worship was great. And it was a guest who was speaking that I knew in my previous life. Let's just say that. And good guy, right? And but we were close enough for maybe a text. Like over these years, maybe just a hey, anything, right? Nothing. No interaction there. So when people see me in that setting, it's awkward quickly. I try to bridge that gap, but this guy got up, he preached a message about somebody listening to us preaching, falling out the window, and how the church needs to be better. Running out there, and picking us up. I looked at my wife and I said, I'm not healed yet, because my ears are red, and I really got to gather. I got to use all my mentors, I got the crystals, I got horse, I do whatever I can do, because that's over the line. You cannot come in here and preach a message like that. No, you don't do that. And I happen to be right here with you. You know you don't do that. That was a growth moment for me. Where's my opportunity to grow? You know where I landed? Ready? I'll bet you people felt like that with me sometimes.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
So that's how I went from bitter and angry at that dude to actually gives me more perspective of how it must feel to have somebody come back and apologize and say, no, my messages are legit, which I'm telling people, and I'm telling them right now. The fact that we have a culture is pulls all your stuff, if you make mistakes, funny to me, different pie. But that moment, rather than getting mad at this guy and being tempted to call him a fraud, a hypocrite, and a bum, you know what? Golly, thank you for the grace people have been giving you. Because that's a tough pill to swallow.
And what you're saying is true. It's just not true about you. So I'm gonna ask you this,
well said.
There's a famous psychologist, Carl Jung, and he says that everyone has a gap between their perceived self, their actual self, right? So this gap is described as who you want to be and who you are. And the closer the gap is, the better our, physiological health is, or psychological health is. I'm curious, when you are on stage and you're preaching to all these people and you're ministering the gospel at the same time, you got all this stuff going on in your life. Like, what was that doing to your psychological health? Like, are you thinking? Because and before you answer that, I'm gonna talk about a time for me. There was a time for me when I was like, I don't know if I believe God is good and real, and I'm wilding. Like, I've never, Minnesota, I'm not even gonna tell y'all the tour I was on, but Minnesota, the only time I've ever been drunk on stage was the show I had in Minnesota, and I drank 2 Purple Rains, this Princess drink, and it was so top, like, the alcohol content was high, and I got on stage, and I was like, I'm gonna speak in generalities, because I don't think I can say, like, and I'm just curious for you, like, you're speaking truth, but you're not well.
Yeah.
Like, how was that?
This is how deep my self-delusion was on a couple different fronts. One, I legitimately thought that I was always going to get it together. So I never once fell on my face and thought, I want to do this again, I like this. It was always, that's it. I'm going to fix this. Monday I'm going to do this, Tuesday I'm going to do this, and I would use that to somehow couch how I could then stomach the next part of my compartmentalized life, which is to preach about a perfect creator and a perfect gospel through this imperfect lens and this frail communicator. That wasn't hard for me because if it's hard for me, it's got to be hard for everybody. Because people are like, how did you preach and stuff about life? I don't know, how did you survive today? Like the same way you do. And it's different, the weight is different, but for me, I lied to myself and I just put it off into a corner, and God is gracious enough to use broken people to deliver things that help other people. And when stuff gets exposed, that really tricks people's theology, really messes them up because we say it, but when you're actually faced with that reality, then you gotta find out, did you really believe it?
Yeah.
Because I just preached it last week and the place went bananas. God will use anybody, doesn't matter. But now that you found out it's a real thing, now it's tricky for you theologically. So that's something to dig into. For me, I was never under an illusion that a pastor had it together. And having said that, brother, there's a big difference between having areas in your life going well and having habitual pattern, cycle, sins, and addictions, which